everybody. Welcome back to Redditor Radio, episode 641, coming to you on Monday, January 12th. We're going to look at what USC is doing in the transfer portal, talk about the defensive coordinator search for USC to replace Stanton Lynn, and so much more. As always, you can follow us on social media at Random Troy, email us, randomtroy@fansided.com, and our phone number, 818-643-7227, Second Whisperer and Show. I'm your host, Michael Castillo, joining along with my co-host here in the Rant Line studio in Los Angeles, powered by Fansided, Elisa Dertol.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. What a weekend for USC alums.
Yeah.
Trojans, specifically Caleb Williams.
The one, the only Caleb Williams. You know, there were people who doubted him coming out of college. There were people who thought he wasn't worthy of the number one pick.
Yeah.
And then after his first year in the NFL, there were people who thought he was a bust. Mm-hmm. And there were people from the previous regime trying to throw him under the bus and say that he was the problem with the Bears.
Yes. Yeah.
No.
Not the franchise that is very historically not had a franchise quarterback. Who the
I think
passing
he's already,
record holder is Sid Luckman.
I think he's already like in line to be one of their top 10 passers of all time.
Oh, easily. Yeah. It's like Luckman, Cutler, and him. Yeah. Not like Jim McMahon, like had a bunch of yards. Yeah. But yeah, what a weekend for Caleb Williams. Leads a valiant comeback to Bears. They will host the Rams on this upcoming weekend. So look forward to that to see what he can do. Sam Darnold and the Seahawks also playing this weekend. They got a bye week, so they did not have to play on this past weekend. So we'll see them coming up forward.
If both the Seahawks, if the Seahawks beat the 49ers and the Bears beat the Rams, then USC is guaranteed to have a starting quarterback in the Super Bowl.
For the first time ever.
Yeah, which is kind of not kind of wild because USC has not been like a big NFL producer in history from that position. USC's produced a lot of NFL quarterbacks, but like they're not Purdue with like, you know, really, really top level quarterbacks in the NFL.
But like I think that makes it sort of more shocking. Like Cal, would you have expected Cal to produce Aaron Rodgers?
No.
You know what I mean?
Like you'd think USC would stumble upon somebody.
Yeah.
But I mean, they have theoretically Sam Darnold and Caleb Williams could take their teams there. They could also lose, but
maybe you can look this up while we're talking. But Beathard, did he go to a Super Bowl with the Chiefs? I think so.
CJ
he
Beathard.
Wouldn't have. No, it's not CJ Beathard. The SC Beathard.
Oh,
what is his name? Pete Beathard. Is that right?
I'm searching Beathard USC. Yeah, Pete Beathard.
Yeah. Would he have gone to the Super Bowl with the Chiefs?
Let's see.
I think he would have, but he wouldn't have played.
He was with the Chiefs from 64 to 67.
Yeah.
He is listed as the AFL champion in 1966.
Okay. So then right before the Super Bowl. Missed.
Yeah, just missed Super Bowl.
Just missed. All right. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes in the NFL. The playoff has been going on in college football. That's been super fun to watch. I think we can talk about that later if we have time for it. But
I'll have time to talk about that.
Cool. Let's get into the news, shall we? I don't know why. I took it off my board. I really did. So we're just going to pretend that this is the news drop.
I think I just died and went to heaven.
Yeah, there you go. All right, let's
I don't know if that's the correct drop for this.
Maybe not. No, how about this one?
No.
That maybe. Yeah,
that's the news drop.
It's hard to say.
Yeah. Let's talk about USC's defensive coordinator search. Pickleball Drill Club in the chat says, who is our defensive coordinator going to be? Gary P? ? All right, let's talk about the coaching search. We've talked about Pete Kwiatkowski being top of our list of who we'd want USC to go out and get. Texas's former defensive coordinator. He was at Washington for a long time. A lot of success, long track record of success. He was let go by Texas a few weeks ago. He's not coming to SC because if he was, he would have been here already. Stanford apparently got really close with Kwiatkowski, but they are looking at former Trojan Chris Richard as their defensive coordinator. But Pete Kwiatkowski sort of no longer on their radar. What's going on?
Well, it seems that now 3 different teams have had what seems to be the same misgiving about Pete Kwiatkowski.
Sure.
Obviously, we don't have details. We're not in those rooms. We don't know what his interview process looked like, or sort of if there are personality clashes, or if, I don't know, he's just a weirdo who doesn't get along with people.
He has BO.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe he makes like bad jokes or does,
I doubt that one.
Has too many like taps the table in a rhythm in a way that annoys people. I don't know. Whatever
that
it is.
That would be a plus. That'd be a green flag.
Whatever it is, Texas got rid of him, allegedly sort of reading between the lines because I think the phrasing was like Sark was tired of babysitting the DC. Maybe it was just, it sounded from the get-go like it was a personality thing.
Sure.
Because it certainly wasn't a results thing. The USC thing was so obvious because allegedly he had a good relationship with Jen Cohen from the Washington days, and USC needed a defensive coordinator, and, it all sort of fit. And then suddenly he's not a candidate for USC, he's a candidate for Stanford. And the sort of like rumblings have been that USC passed because there was something about fit that didn't seem right, that USC wanted to look in a different direction. And then the same thing happens at Stanford. So like, at a certain point when 3 different programs are saying apparently the same thing, then you do have to look at it and say, okay, well, maybe this is a valid question mark that has Kwiatkowski sort of on the outs, because his and the fact that like he like I said at the time, the fact that Stanford was close to hiring him was a red flag in and of itself, because he could do much better than Stanford, just based on his resume. So I don't know. It's all very strange. I am disappointed that it doesn't look like USC is going in this direction, but I understand not wanting to bring somebody in who will be a negative in terms of culture or all of that. Having said that, I will admit my response to this has been sort of this or that kind of thing, where on the one hand, while I respect not wanting to bring in somebody who might shake up your culture, I think that the best leaders and the best programs or companies or whatever have a culture that withstands adding somebody in who is maybe against the grain. And the reason that Nick Saban and Bill Belichick did so well during their dynasties is in part because they took all the guys that didn't fit culture-wise elsewhere, and they forced them to fit into their culture.
Right.
Lane Kiffin was not an Alabama guy.
Yeah.
He went there and had a lot of success being, on that staff. Players in the NFL that you'd look at and go like, they're a cancer in one place. They go to the Patriots and suddenly they're walking the line. So I am in part worried / frustrated / about like the concept of not hiring somebody because there's a personality clash or a culture fit, a culture miss or anything like that. Like, for all intents and purposes, the culture that Pete Kwiatkowski has put into his defenses has been very, very successful. So I'm sort of I feel a certain type of way about that. I am relieved and less willing to like die on that hill because this has now happened with 3 different programs, with Texas, with USC, with Stanford. Having said that, the coaches of these programs are Steve Sarkisian, Lincoln Riley, and Tavita Pritchard. And it's, if like Nick Saban passed on him, I'd be like, okay, yeah, that's, we know what's up. If guys who you can trust their program building and culture, then I would be all on board. But there's just something very weird about all of this that it's just making me uneasy, the whole thing. Not just Kwiatkowski, because again, like if you pass on him for a good reason, that's fine.
Yeah.
But it all just feels, something feels off. Something feels not right.
Yeah, I think the thing is, like, we've talked about Kwiatkowski, a lot for like a month now. It's not necessarily that like you and me and so many, SC fans are demanding Pete Kwiatkowski himself, like literally. Yeah. It's more so like you want to get somebody like a Pete Kwiatkowski in terms of prestige, in terms of success, in terms of track record, in terms of all of those things.
Yeah.
Pickleball Drill Club in the chat says, isn't this the most important hire of the Riley era? I think so. Yeah. I mean, given the way things have gone, yes. Because what is holding SC from the playoff? A defense that is consistent for 60 minutes and successful for 60 minutes. The second half defense that SC had in the second half of the year, if that defense was transposed across all 12 games, all 60 minutes, SC's in the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
But
not just in the playoff, but like a contender, Yeah,
maybe they win a game in the playoff.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they aren't where they are, right? They're in a different situation. So, yeah, like, SC doesn't have to fix that much, but the bit that they have to fix is, like, the hardest step to go from being on the fringe to being in, because you've got to find someone who can get you sort of over that hump. Also, Pickleball Drill Club mentioned Gary P, meaning Gary Patterson, presumably, not Gary Paskowitz. Rest in peace. Yeah. But Gary Patterson, a name that we've seen like thrown around on like Twitter or whatnot, like I don't know that I've ever been torn about a name in my life.
Yeah, same.
Because like I've done research. I've looked into this
many times in the past. We've looked
yes.
Gary Patterson. Every coaching search that USC did, in the like 20 teens, we were looking at Gary Patterson every time.
Gary Patterson should be a Hall of Fame coach. Tremendous coach. What he's done or what he did at TCU should be lauded, praised, all those things. Won a Rose Bowl.
2-time coach of the year.
Yeah. My concern is that he stopped at TCU a while ago now. 2021, I believe, was his last year at TCU. Which means he's been out of college football for 4 years. He was a special assistant at Texas in 2022. I thought Burnt Orange Nation is at the SB Nation site,
yes.
I believe. They have a really good article you should go look up about Gary Patterson that I thought was very interesting. It talked about like his influence at Texas in 2022. It's hard to judge, right? Because he was a special consultant to Pete Kwiatkowski, ironically. But like he apparently included some consultation on like how they would do like cover 4 coverages and whatnot. And their defense got significantly better. Is that because of that? Is it because of the personnel? Is it because it was just year 2 in a new coaching system? Like, I don't know. Like, it could be any of those things. Gary Patterson could have had nothing to do with it, or he could have had all the reason to do with it. I don't know. I can understand absolutely that Lincoln Riley reveres Gary Patterson because he was a Big 12 god, right? And TCU was a hard team to play against, defensively especially, for all those years. And TCU had success at times against Oklahoma, etc. Like, I get it. At the same time, it's been a while. At the same time, you look at the numbers on, like, you know, you pull up the FEI numbers.
The pride of FEI.
And TCU was in the hundreds in 2021 when he gets fired. But you look at all the seasons before that, they're in the top 20. They're like 17th, 16th, 15th. They're like in that range. And not to say that, like, you're going to get exactly what happened at TCU, at USC. Like, I don't know, but, like, I think my prevailing thought is I don't know if it's a better situation than you have now, because I think the questions that you would have about Gary Patterson are similar questions you'd have about D'Anton Lynn, and the upside with the Gary Patterson would be very similar to the upside of a D'Anton Lynn. And so I don't know that it would be a step forward. I don't know that it would be a step backward either. But
it's so hard because, like, we have to answer the question of, was that 2021 season the him finally just hitting his age and sort of not being able to connect with his roster and not being able to catch up to what teams' offenses in college football were doing and all that kind of stuff.
The year after COVID.
Yeah. Or was it the year after COVID? Was it just the end of the line for him as a head coach? Was it TCU? What kind of investment was TCU giving to their program? What kind of talent were they pulling in? All of that kind of stuff. You know, there could be explanations for it. The fact that he has been out of the game for so long, not out of the game because he's been in and around college football, but, like, he hasn't had a job. He hasn't had a head coaching job, a DC job, anything job since he got fired in 2021. That's now a long time. I mean, as an aside, the number of years it's been since COVID is now just absolutely astonishing. But, like, that's also the thing. It's like 2021 doesn't feel that long ago. But also, 2021 was like 4 years ago.
Well, in terms of college football,
it's changed drastically.
It's significantly different. I think there is probably a decent amount of change schematically. And then you talk about, like, NIL and recruiting and transfer portal stuff, and all that stuff has changed mightily. But then you get into the thought of, like, do you need your defensive coordinator to recruit in 2026? Maybe you don't if you have Chad Bowden as your GM and you have a great support staff. Like, maybe sort of the point is you get your lab coat guy who's just going to be about the X's and O's, and he's going to resonate with the players, but he's not going to be out there grinding, texting away with the guys. Like, well, I don't think that's a bad idea, but, like, I don't know. Like,
if USC wants to, which I think is a perfectly, I think we are reasonable if we need to assume that USC would like to keep much of their defensive staff intact.
Yeah.
Particularly Eric Henderson, but, like, you know, I think Trevon Reed and, you know, Sean Nua coming back. It just sounds like they want to keep these guys in place, and that the ideal for USC from USC's perspective might be to plug in a co-DC with Eric Henderson, who coaches the, you know, DBs, safeties, or whatever, to just take D'Anton Lynn's place. And if they were to do that with Gary Patterson, that might be the only setup that I might be willing to say maybe could work, because Gary Patterson is 65.
Yeah.
He's not a spring chicken anymore, but Eric Henderson is young and he can connect with the players. I think Trovon Reed's pretty young. Like there's like the young guys and then the old guys with Ryan, with the I have D'Amico Ryans in my head. It's not Rex Ryan, Rob Ryan.
Yeah.
Rob Ryan.
Definitely not D'Amico Ryan.
No, but that would be wonderful. So like, I could imagine it where you bring in Patterson. He was a safeties coach. Now it's a long time since he was a safeties coach, and I don't know if he wants to do the on-field coaching like that anymore. But he was a safeties coach, so you could bring him in, have him oversee the safeties. He's co-DC with Eric Henderson. He brings the schematic element to the table.
What do you mean by co-DCs?
Co-DC in the sense that Eric Henderson was the co-DC with Danton Lynn this year.
Which was just the pay grade thing.
Yes. So you keep Eric Henderson happy by keeping him with the co-DC tag.
And then maybe you give him more responsibility, but Patterson's still the acting defensive coordinator?
Patterson is the one who calls the plays, who does like the tactical stuff.
Yeah.
Could that work? I mean, maybe. It could also be an absolute disaster to bring in somebody who's 65 years old, who hasn't coached on field with players in 4 years, who has never dealt with players who were being paid outright, who is a generation behind in terms of the last time he recruited. We're talking a generation behind in terms of like every 4 years being a college football generation.
Yeah.
So I think it would be a massive risk, but I would be willing to give space for the possibility that it could work. But also, like somebody in the chat was saying that like Riley can't get this one wrong. Like, it's a massive risk to take that you cannot afford to get wrong as badly as it could go wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. There's been a lot of possible speculation that the reason that it's gone on is because maybe it's going to be an NFL guy. Maybe it's a guy who's still coaching. Maybe it's a guy who was still coaching up until a few days ago. Any of those things. Maybe they're just waiting this long because they're just going to name Eric Henderson. I tend to think that if it was Eric Henderson, it would have been done by now.
Done and dusted by now.
Yeah, especially for recruiting purposes with the portal. So
if they're waiting around for Corey Heatherman, the DC at Miami, and that ends up being the hire, how they pull that off, hell if I know, because I couldn't explain to you why Corey Heatherman would want to, make a lateral move.
Jim Knowles.
You never know.
He left Ohio State
to go to Penn State. Yeah, yes. Who knows? I mean, stranger things have certainly happened.
Yeah.
If that's what they're waiting for, then the wait will have been well worth it. Well worth it.
I think as long as it feels like it's gone on, now that the transfer portal is open and sort of winding down, your urgency, I think, lowers again. And I think it goes back to just get it right. Mm-hmm. And then I think it's worth mentioning Michigan and Penn State's head coaching hires. Those were long, tedious processes for completely different reasons, obviously, in which there were many names thrown out there, some of which were not as good as others. And they ended up with guys who everyone considers as a big W, right? Mm-hmm. And so you'll ultimately be judged on the success of the person that you hire. So get it right.
And you can make a hire that people hate.
Yeah.
And if it works, if you win, then you could hire Gary Patterson and people could be panicking because they think it's a bad hire. You could hire Corey Heatherman and people could be celebrating because it's a good hire. And then we're coming out of the 2026 season, and what really matters in the end is not how people felt when those guys got hired. It's how they feel at the end of the season when they've seen their defenses. So it's it is very results dependent. But at this stage, having sort of waited a month now or longer, I just want it done. I just don't want to have to be going back and forth about like who could it be? Who could it be? Maybe it's this guy. Maybe it's that guy.
The weird thing is, it's literally 2 weeks. It's literally 2 weeks, but it feels like longer because I think we all assumed that Danton Lynn was leaving for Penn State anyway.
Yeah, once the initial like report came out, which was in early December.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other names you want to discuss?
Yeah, so another name that's been floating around on Twitter is Missouri defensive coordinator Corey Batoon. Apparently, like, Missouri message boards are in a panic over this link because they really like him. He was born in Hawaii. He went to Cal State Long Beach. He has deep, SoCal ties with San Diego, Los Angeles, etc. His defenses at Missouri last year was ranked 26th in DFEI, 20th in 2025. He's done a really good job at that school thus far. Intriguing. If it is Corey Batoon, I don't know why it's taking this long either. You want to address that super chat? Because that's another name that I've seen.
Yeah, let's get to the super chat, which the sound doesn't play.
Cheers.
How about there? There we go. From Night Sky, what about Chargers DB's coach Steve Clinkscale? Clinkscale, hell of a name, by the way. Harbaugh guy, DB's coach at Michigan, had a co-DC tag at Michigan. I don't know anything about him. I think he comes from an interesting tree in that sense. NFL experience, Harbaugh experience. I think there's no reason to say no on the surface. I just don't know enough about him to pound the table for him at this point.
My concern is that his DC experience is practically non-existent because he was the DC at Cincinnati in 2015 and they had a bad defense. He was the co-DC at Michigan from 2022 to 2023. But again, that's an Eric Henderson co-DC. Like, he was not running that defense at Michigan. Does it speak highly of him that Jim Harbaugh brought him to the Chargers? Yes, speaks very highly of him. I do like the tree he's coming from and all of that. But again, this comes back to, like, you cannot get this wrong. You cannot get this wrong. And Clinkscale would be a risk. It would be another guy who, like, getting him would be closer to what UCLA did when they brought in Danton Lynn in the first place. And that turned out really, really well for them for that 1 year. But increasingly, that 1 year sort of looks like you had NFL talent on the edges. So I don't know.
I
don't think it's the best hire. I don't think it's a disaster hire. I think USC should be aiming higher than that as an option, but you could do worse, certainly.
Yeah, like I don't think there's any egg on your face in terms of the hire itself, but again, it needs to be something that is proven to be successful. Chelsea fans will love Liam Sr. if he wins trophies, even though no one's happy that he's the manager. You know what I mean?
The problem that I have right now is just that, like, it was nice having Pete Kwiatkowski as, like, the name because it was an undeniable best name out there. Like if USC did that, it's a home run hire. Al Golden as a name that could be sort of dreamed about was another one where it's like, okay, yeah, that's a big boy hire.
Wink Martindale,
yeah, which is another name that people are floating. I don't know if there's any actual smoke there or just people dreaming. Certainly the Jesse Minter conversation is also dreaming. That just is not
Jesse Minter with the show cause.
Yeah, with the show
probably
cause,
going to be an NFL coach.
I was going to say he's going to be a head coach before he's USC's DC. My problem now is that, with the exception of Corey Heatherman, I do not see, like, if I were going to rank the options that USC has, it's not like a murderer's row of that's a damn good hire. You know, like, I think Corey Batoon is probably a good hire. Gary Patterson is a risky but maybe good hire. Steve Clinkscale is taking a chance on somebody. Like, we're going down the line, and I'm not super jazzed about any of the options. But yeah. I will admit this. I have not done a deep dive into Corey Batoon, specifically because I'm tired of doing deep dives into DCs that then are not a factor. I'm tired of falling in love with candidates and then just having it be completely wiped away in a day. So what I've seen is surface level on Batoon, and just the fact that Missouri fans don't want him to leave. But
yeah, I will say that, like, your sort of dream candidate thing being like a Corey Heatherman from Miami, like,
that's a pipe dream and a half.
But, like, if that's your pipe dream, then, like, literally anybody's possible in the sense of, like, and I think that if you're SC, if you're someone who is going to pay $2 million, $3 million, whatever it is for the defensive coordinator position, then seeing that Jim Knowles left Ohio State to go to Penn State last year, like, there's precedence that maybe you just get someone who already has a job, like, and like a Corey Heatherman or like literally anybody. But again, you have to nail the job. You have to nail the hire. I don't care who they get at this point, as long as it's someone that you feel good about, and then ultimately you have success with. Because as we've been saying on the podcast for 10 years now, there's 2 times to judge a hire: at the moment and then the tenure. The hire and the tenure are different things. Chip Kelly was an incredible hire for UCLA. Mm-hmm. He was terrible as his tenure, right?
Well, Lincoln Riley was an incredible hire for USC, and we still haven't seen that really come together.
His tenure hasn't been
an incredible tenure.
Yes. Yeah. Justin Wilcox, fantastic hire as USC's defensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. Didn't have the success, right?
For reasons, who knows?
So, like, a good hire can be something that is underwhelming, and a bad hire can work out, right? Like, Jim Mora was a bad hire at UCLA, and he worked out more than anybody else has over there. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, you could argue Pete Carroll was a bad hire at USC. So,
yeah.
You know, he was certainly not a hire that people liked. But Night Sky brings up Bryant Hayes from Indiana. Would love that. My problem is just that, again, it's like with Heatherman. It's like, why?
I have a hard time.
Like, would Indiana not pay him a matching salary to whatever USC pays him?
All those Indiana guys that are like hardcore Signetti dudes.
Yeah.
I have a hard time seeing them leave.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of them that have been there since the beginning with Signetti. And that means that they're committed to him more than they are like, I'm not going to say their own ambitions, because that sounds crazy. But like,
was Haynes with him at Elon too?
Let me look this up.
Hold on, because he's been with him through JMU. But yeah, he was at Elon with him. So their working relationship goes back to 2017.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's dudes on that staff who I think
actually
go back
it goes
to IUP.
Back even farther, because he was at IUP.
He was one of the IUP.
He was a strength and conditioning coach for IUP with Signetti. So like, you're not getting Brian Haynes.
Now, mind you, if you're him, and if there was ever a time to leave,
now
after you win a national championship is a good time to do it.
Yeah.
Like you've
gotten
USC
to the pinnacle as a springboard to a head coaching job.
Yeah, like I and maybe that's something that like Signetti tells him to go do. You know, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, he's 40, so it's not like he's young.
But,
I mean, he's not like he's old.
Yeah, but again, like, if your hope is the I'm not gonna say unprecedented because Jim Knowles just did it last year, but like the such a like abnormal in the normal sense hire of going out and getting a dude who's going to take a lateral in some sense move, right? Maybe you say that he's going backwards, going from Indiana to SC at this point, right? Like, I don't know. I don't know.
I think that's why Heatherman has talked about the way that he is, because he was at Minnesota for 1 year and then
he's not a long-term Miami
ditched them
guy.
from Miami for 1 year.
He's not a crystal ball guy.
He could just jump and leave. Also, he's a Signetti guy. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
So basically, how about USC just goes and finds anybody that was a defensive coach under Signetti and just pick one?
As long as you have them clone his brain or something. Even though, do you want that cloned? Kurt Signetti terrifies me.
He does, but like in a good way. This is the thing. Like, Signetti talked about working for Nick Saban and how that changed him as a head coach. And we know that like Lane Kiffin and Steve Sarkisian have all talked about that. So I suspect that working for a guy like Signetti changes your DNA a little bit. And like in that sense, I would be perfectly comfortable with just saying, anybody who lasted with Signetti, therefore was able to live in his sphere of like just whatever the hell energy that Signetti's giving off, then like that's probably a good sign.
Yeah, I would. Here's a question for you, but before we move on, because we have a lot of stuff about the transfer portal to get to, obviously. Really quick, is there a coach who in college football you would least or less like to be your father than Kurt Signetti? Because Kurt Signetti as my dad, I think, would be terrifying. The death stares.
Yes.
Oh. The expectations. Ooh. Because I don't think there is. I don't think there is. On a scale of Kyle Whittingham to Kurt Signetti.
Yeah.
Like Kyle Whittingham as a dad would be awesome. You know what I mean? So
yeah. No, I think it's Signetti. I'm struggling to think of a single other person that would scare me as much as he does.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to talking about the transfer portal. When last we spoke, Hassan Longstreet was not in the transfer portal. We talked about him potentially going into the transfer portal, and he has. USC's backup quarterback in 2025. He's seeking immediate playing time, looking at some options. LSU, perhaps. That is a name that's been bantied about. Lane Kiffin there trying to figure something out at quarterback to replace Garrett Nussmeier. What's your thought on Hassan Longstreet?
Well, the first two programs that came up when Hassan Longstreet announced he was going to he wanted to transfer were Oregon and LSU. Open quarterback jobs, programs that have done programs and or coaches who have done a good job of developing quarterbacks, nationally successful, nationally relevant, blah blah blah. Except that like those are no longer available. Dylan Raiola is transferring to Oregon, and Sam Leavitt is reportedly transferring to LSU. Although there's still some rumblings that like Tennessee might still be trying to reverse that decision from him. Either way, like if Longstreet wants to start day one, his options in the Power Five are limited. Now, Miami will need a quarterback after Carson Beck leaves, so that could be a spot that he tries. Does Miami want to bring in a redshirt freshman who has never played a down to take over that particular team? I don't know about that. Like Tennessee might be in play, but I don't know about that. So there's there's only so much, right? Yeah, there's only so many opportunities he does unless he does the G5 route, which if he wants to play right away, then by all means. But like,
here's the issue that I think that Hassan Longstreet has. And I don't think this is a bad thing. I think this is just what college football is right now, and I think it's tough for someone who wants to play right now having to sort of make these decisions. Is that I think we have gone back and forth on what your starting quarterback looks like. 20 years ago, it was your junior, your senior, your freshman. John David Booty is going to come to SC and he's going to sit his booty on the bench, and he's not going to start until year 4 because you've got guys in front of him, and he's not going to leave. And that's what college football is. And you're just going to wait for your time, and then you're going to get your opportunity, right? You saw that with Mark Sanchez too, right? Same thing. However, then it became this thing where you've got to play everybody early. And every major school at some point started a freshman quarterback. Alabama started Jalen Hurts as a true freshman. He got in the game in his first ever game against SC, right? Like, all these schools went to, okay, we're going to play the younger guy. The younger guy is where we're going to go. The younger guy with the higher upside, he's going to get us where we need to be. And maybe you have some growing pains, but you're going to get there anyways. Now that the transfer portal is becoming such, and for a while it was becoming a thing with quarterbacks being graduate transfers because we saw the successes of grad transfers with guys like Russell Wilson, right, going from NC State to Wisconsin and having success in their final year. But now you get to where guys can do that after year 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And I think the trend has shifted back to where your starting quarterback is the junior and senior again. It's the guy, it's the 100% proven dude, because you're going to be reluctant to give somebody else an opportunity. Because there's so many expectations on coaches. Coaches want to keep their job. Keeping your job means more NIL money and more wins, more NIL money. More NIL money means keeping your job. Like, all these things are cascades. And so you want your quarterback to be a proven commodity. So then if you're Hassan Longstreet, yes, I get it that you're at SC and like Maiyava is the dude right now. And so what are you going to do? Like, do you want, in the day and age of the transfer portal, it makes sense to transfer away. Totally. This is what happens with quarterbacks. But also, who's going to play him? Like, both of those things can be true at this point to put him in a bind. Because I think the teams that are going to play him are teams that he would eventually probably want to transfer away from anyways. You mentioned like the G5 thing. Like, yeah, if he transfers to, say, just throwing this out there, like a Stanford, for instance, and he starts there at Stanford, he's going to be looking to transfer again next year. You know what I mean? And obviously Stanford's not a G5.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I said from the beginning that any quarterback who doesn't want to learn under Lincoln Riley is making their own choice, and that in the end it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter to me where Hassan Longstreet ends up. Mm-hmm. I wish him well, but in the end, I think, would I choose to be developed by Lincoln Riley or anyone else? I would choose to be developed by Lincoln Riley, even if I had to sit another year. Yeah. We will see. Mr. Pukahead in the chat says still a lot of places for him to go. Miami, Mizzou, Ole Miss, Tennessee. Yeah, there's a bunch of schools like that. But again, absolutely, like Michael said, like, how many of those schools are in a position to start a guy who's never started a game before? Yeah. When, I don't know that the portal has too much more talent available to it, but like, I think any one of those teams that brings in Longstreet is basically setting up 2026 to be a rookie mistakes year. And like someone like, I don't know that a team like Miami is in a position to take that risk.
Yeah. Well, maybe coming off a national title.
I mean, maybe.
Who the hell
maybe.
cares if
And-
you're
and who
Miami
knows-
about next year?
Who
But
knows
yeah.
with Ole Miss? But Tennessee kind of makes a lot of sense because you go to Tennessee and there's a little bit more of like a long-term quarterbacking
Yeah.
setup there that I think would make a lot of sense for him. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. All right, let's get to talking about, Miami potentially making picks on their quarterback. How about you making picks at Underdog Fantasy? The playoffs are here. There's no better time to start making your picks at Underdog. It's my favorite daily fantasy app. I can play with as little as the buck and win up to 5,000 times my money. It's all about using your ball knowledge. Pick whether a player will go higher or lower than their stat projections. Mix and match with different players on different teams, even different sports. This week, today, where it's Monday night, there's a Monday night playoff game, 2 nights. I'm going Kalen Bullock, former Trojan, higher than 4.5 tackles plus assists. Woody Marks, higher than 10.55 fantasy points. And Aaron Rodgers, lower than 204 passing yards. That's what I'm doing over at Underdog Fantasy. You can join me and start making your picks. So what are you waiting for? Download the app today and use promo code Reign of Troy to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code Reign of Troy. Underdog, make picks, win money. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 467-369. All right.
Struggled there a little bit with
Did
with the breathing.
I thought I did.
It sounded
pretty good.
like you were like a balloon that was just like running to the
I
last.
sounded like a balloon?
No, like the way a balloon gets when it's like it's out of air and it just keeps trying to like you were. No?
This is like telling a woman they look tired. Smile more.
Yeah.
Like, what? Tell me, it sounded like a balloon.
No, I'm just saying you were running out of steam there at the end.
Well, there's a lot of words.
Yeah.
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 Wow. Mean. Next thing I know, you're going to call me buddy. Anyways, let's talk about Trojans in the transfer portal. Asong Longstreet obviously is there. His brother Kevin Longstreet is there. Alex Payne, Anthony Beavers, Garrison Madden, James Johnson, Joey Olson, and Steve Miller. Trojans who are no longer in the transfer portal because they found new homes. Cornerback Braylon Conley to Georgia. Good for him. Good for him going to Georgia. Running back Brian Jackson to Wisconsin. Carlon Jones to Arkansas. Devin Tompkins to Alabama. DJ Jordan, Arizona. Gus Cordova to Mississippi State. Harry Dalton to Maryland. Matai Tagoe to Arizona. And Makai Saina and Michael Benuelos both to Purdue. Who's in Purdue, you might ask? Henson.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Henson. Prince Strachan, wide receiver, to West Virginia. And Walker Lyons to BYU to play with his brother, Ryder Lyons. So that'll be fun. Good for the Lyons family there. But we got an email from Tony in Denora, PA, who says, Michael, Alicia, this is Tony from Denora, PA. Great weekend in signing players. John Tez, Terrell, Devin. Good way to start the transfer portal. We still have some other needs, though. Have to get an edge rusher. Fight on. All right, let's start off with the guys USC has brought in so far in the transfer portal. Of course, we start with John Tez Williams, cornerback from Iowa State, the number one transfer portal corner in 24/7. He only played 5 games in 2025. He had an ACL tear, 4 interceptions, 46 tackles in 2024. Team captain, all of those things. He was the guy who went to media day for Iowa State, to Big 12 media day. That doesn't matter, but I think that
it's a vote of confidence.
I think it shows you the type of importance that a player has.
Yes,
which I think is a good thing. I think we talked about Williams last week, but that was before he committed to SC, which is a big get.
Yeah, big get. The only question mark is whether or not he will be recovered from that ACL tear in time and well enough to be a difference maker for USC. But if all goes well on that front, this is your CB1, this is your lockdown corner, and then you can let the other guys, do their thing, compete.
Big get for SC, and if we talked about it many times before, if you can get your Mekhi Blackman and just not have to worry about that corner spot, that would be great. Coming off his ACL tear, it's 2026. You can do that now. You hope that isn't a lingering thing. Something to consider, though. So we'll see how that goes. But absolutely, getting the number 1 transfer corner is what you want. He's the best available. They went out and got him. Let's talk about Zariah Fisher, defensive end from Penn State. We talked about him last week, that he's going into his 7th year. COVID. He had a COVID year. He redshirted. He's getting a medical red shirt. All equals 7 years. 3.5 tackles for loss, 2 sacks in 2025. So far in his career, 7 tackles, 41 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, 5.5 sacks in his career at Penn State.
His PFF numbers aren't particularly outstanding, but his pass rush win rate was 15%, which is very high. USC's best pass rush win rate in 2025 was Anthony Lucas at 12%. So I think that this isn't
Anthony Lucas at what percent?
12%.
So he's higher than that. Yeah.
Yes, he's higher than that. Yeah. Which you want to be. You want to be higher.
Can you do me a favor?
Yes.
Can you look up to see what Tuli Tuipulotu's pass rush win rate was in 2022?
I can, yes. While I'm doing that, I'll just say that Zariah Fisher is a good ad. Is he an upgrade on Braylon Shelby or Cam Crawford? I don't know. He's not an uber elite end addition, but he is a solid veteran guy who, just by winning his pass rush reps more often, could really help USC. The difference between a team who has consistent pass rushers and ones that doesn't is still massive, and that's been an issue for USC.
Yeah, if you told me that he ended up being a super contributor to this defense this upcoming season, I wouldn't be surprised. At the same time, if you said that he came and he had 2 tackles for loss and 8 tackles on the season and sort of had the same sort of minor role that he's had at Penn State forever, I'd believe that too. A lot of stuff, great for depth, but with an upside, which I think that when the transfer portal isn't completely stocked with edge rushers, I think that is worth a shout to go out and get Zariah Fisher. So we'll see how that goes. Did you get Tuli Tuipulotu's pass rush win rate?
I am trying. It looks like Tuli Tuipulotu's pass rush win rate was 15.4.
Oh, okay.
So,
very close.
Yes, yeah. So
smaller sample size.
And that's the thing is in terms of that, he that particular stat is really good. He doesn't have enough sacks though. He doesn't have enough finished product to be a truly elite addition. If he puts that together, if he adds more sacks, then we're talking really, really good addition. But for comparison's sake, it's sort of a good marker of, Tuli Tuipulotu, his pass rush win rate was very similar to Zariah Fisher's, and that should be,
again,
encouraging.
It's upside, He was successful as a pass rusher in terms of getting pressure in the reduced number of snaps that he had as a rotational guy. What could he do if he got more of an opportunity?
Do you know what his injury in 2024 was?
I don't have it listed down. No.
Because I wonder if it was like a knee injury or something like that. He missed the whole season. He came back in
a slow play back into.
Well, yeah, he came back in 2025. Sometimes, and this is my concern with Jontez Williams, is like sometimes that first year back, you can still be good, but like, you're not at your peak, peak level. So, I think it's entirely possible that it was an ACL injury. Yeah. So especially for a guy on the defensive line, like coming back from an ACL injury, having a good pass rush win rate, but not quite getting to the quarterback, a second year out from that, you could, realistically could see him start to sort of hit back to his heights. So I don't know. It's certainly interesting.
Yeah. Let's get to the next one. Alex Van Sumeren, defensive tackle from Michigan State, 71 career tackles, 4.5 career sacks, 4.5 career tackles for loss, 3 career sacks. This is such an interesting get. 6'3", 300 pounds, the number 12 defensive lineman, according to 24/7. The thing that jumps out for me is he had 52 tackles
as a defensive tackle.
Yeah. This past season for Michigan State.
How many I'm looking this up. Go ahead and
Caden McDonald, Ohio State's Caden McDonald had more. He's the only guy who had more in the Big Ten. I was trying to look up more in the country, but like it was very hard to get it would have taken ages for me to exactly figure that out.
Of USC's defensive tackles, Devin Tompkins led with 31.
31, okay. And then I looked it up. The last USC defensive tackle to have that many, Stevie Tuipulotu.
That's a very good comparison.
Yeah.
That's very encouraging.
I think that the interesting thing is here, like his PFF grade, 66.6, great number. It doesn't jump off the page, but he's a great run stopping defensive tackle. And I think that's something that SC is certainly needed. SC needs pass rushers, but they also need big run stuffers who are going to plug the hole in the middle.
I'd take a single run stuffer in the middle and let the pass rush be sorted out from the edges. Yes. Personally. So
100%. And I think that when you also look at like his production,
he had one missed tackle all season, by the way.
Yes, I saw that too. There's just a lot of stuff I like here. He was a captain at one point for the Spartans.
He was 6th in the Big Ten in stops, which are like tackles, any sort of tackle that results in not a negative play in the sense of like negative yardage, but a play that isn't a success for the opposing offense. So like a 1-yard run or a 2-yard run. He had 19, which is 6th in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I think that, there's a lot of production here which you like to see. And I sort of go back to a thing that they talked about in the broadcast in the Peach Bowl, the Indiana-Oregon game, and how they talked about Curt Cignetti's transfer policy is not about potential, but production. And obviously, like, that still means you have to coach those guys up, right? Like if you go and get some dude who's been at a lower level but had is a record holder, doesn't mean that he's going to be crazy successful at a higher level, but it means that he knows how to be successful. It means that there's their mind is right and all that kind of stuff, right? Like, and you still have to maybe coach them through a lot of things, certainly, right? But Van Suveren, number 12 defensive lineman, he's not number 1. He's not at 6'3", 300 pounds. He's a big dude, but he's not the biggest defensive tackle at this point. But like the production is there to the point where like this just feels right to me. I don't know if I'm just like too eager to buy into a defensive lineman coming off of a system or a year in which SC brought in a bunch of defensive linemen who didn't do anything in the transfer portal. But like Keyshawn Silver didn't have 52 tackles at Kentucky.
No. And that's the thing is like, I think that there's a theme with some of these additions. And to me, it is that USC's biggest area of concern remains run defense. And they have addressed that at 2 levels of the defense with Van Sumeren and the linebacker that they brought in. The problem there is that like they weren't able to get the all-around elite guys who can do both. Mm-hmm. But it's very clear to me that what they've chosen to add on the defensive line and at linebacker is guys who can sniff out the run.
Yeah. I think that, Bob in the chat says you can't have a strong pass rush unless you stop the run, minimize second and short and third and short plays. 1,000%. I think that like the prime example for that to me is the Oregon and the Notre Dame games.
Yes.
And the Iowa game. Those are games, all of which SC was better in the second half, right? Mm-hmm. All of them were games in which SC got gashed on the ground in the first half.
Yep.
In the second half, they got at least a yard better on yards per carry. And just being a yard better in yards per carry means that the third downs are longer. Your longer third downs are less likely to pick up. Less likely to pick up third downs mean more likely to get a stop. More likely to get a stop means more opportunities for the offense to get a score that maybe isn't answered. And that's how you stack scoring drives together and create comebacks, leads, all those things. They didn't do it against Oregon. They did it against Iowa, but like that's the basis for being able to do those things. And so, yeah, if you can trim a half yard off your yards per carry on first down, you're going to see a huge dividend paid going forward. So, yeah, I love this get for SC because it fits an exact need of what they need with a guy who has had success doing this in the Big Ten. Like proof of concept is there. Checks all the boxes. Senior leadership guy. What more do you want, right? Like fantastic get for SC. I think there's like a lot of these guys. We're going to talk about like the transfer portal gets in general because I do think there's risk involved from the transfer portal, but like of all the dudes that I think SC brought in, I think he's the least risky. I agree. He's the most sure thing to me.
Well, I also just think about Stevie Tuikolavatu.
Yeah.
He came to USC. He was not a heralded guy. He was not somebody who was like wrecking dudes at Utah, but he was big, he could hold his ground, and he could do the little things. And he turned out to be one of the most important transfers that USC's ever had. Yeah. So, I'm not saying that Van Sumeren is going to be like an All-American, but I do think he's a very savvy pickup for USC, especially considering the need.
Yeah, yeah. All right, next one to mention. We talked about him last week. Terrell Anderson, wide receiver out of NC State. Number 7 wide receiver in the transfer portal, according to 24/7. 6'2", 192, 39 catches, 629 yards, 5 touchdowns in 2025. Your thoughts? Your thoughts here on Terrell Anderson?
Yeah, he's not the flashy receiver that I hoped that USC would go after. Not flashy, but elite level to pair with to pair with Tanook Hines. But he makes sense in the same way that, and don't get mad at me for this comparison, that Prince Strawn made sense. And I know that Prince Strawn was a big disappointment this season in part because of injury, but he was the kind of receiver who was just, solid in the all-around game, who could come in as a little bit more of a veteran and just do a job for you. And I think that in the ideal world, what Anderson ends up being, like, if I could lay it out right now, I don't want Anderson being my wide receiver number 2. I want him to be my wide receiver number 3. And if one of the freshmen or the redshirt freshmen or any of those take that wide receiver number 2, and you have your very reliable, you just have your sort of number 3 be Terrell Anderson, I think you're in a really good spot.
Yes.
But he's not Nick Marsh, and he's not Cameron and, any of those guys. So it's fine.
We talk a lot about like guys who would be the sort of like your number 6 batter, your guy in the 7 hole on a World Series team. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's what Terrell Anderson feels like to me. And the number 3 receiver is a prime example of this. Like, yes, he is. If he's your number 3 receiver, you're in a really good place. If he's your number 1, either you would have needed him to take a step forward, which is totally fine if that's the case. But if he's your number 1 as is, then that means I think something went wrong with the other guys on your roster too.
Yes.
Like ideally you want Terrell Anderson to take a step forward, and all your other guys to take a step forward too, and he just ends up being the 3rd guy because of all the talent that you also have on your roster. And if he's your 3rd dude, you're in such a good place. So,
yes.
Yeah. If your really good free agent signing is batting 7th for you, your lineup is good.
Yes.
So
that's exactly it.
Yeah.
And I get this on that level. I get the addition because USC does have some really talented freshmen coming in, and I could see USC banking on one of them being Tanook Hines.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's a bad bet either, because like between Luke Weaver and Bowie Feaster and Dixon Wallace, who was lighting up the All-American Bowl this past weekend, like I think like it was with Tanook and that receiving group, there is simply going to be one of them that comes out of that group. Yeah. And if you want to leave room for those guys to get on the field early, then, maybe you do look for wide receiver 3 instead of wide receiver 2.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, you mentioned like one of them sort of popping off. Like, look at SC having Deuce Robinson, Zachariah Branch, Mekhi Lemon, and Jacoby Lane all in the same recruiting class. Mm-hmm. Mind you, I think they hit on all 4 of those guys.
Yeah.
But
Dixon Wyatt. They
didn't work in harmony all together at once, right?
Yes.
And so not all of your dudes are going to be incredible all at the same time. Like, everyone develops at a different rate. Everyone has different bills of health, all those things. So the more the merrier in terms of your opportunities to have your superstar dude. So yeah, I think SC's receiving core, I think, has a lot of pieces to like. I don't think that there is a Bolitnikoff winner for next season in USC's receiving core, but I think there's a lot of pieces to like, and I think that's a good thing. Yeah. That there's a lot of pieces to like is a good thing. Let's go to defense again. Devin Bryant, linebacker from Washington. We talked about him last week. Another run-stopping linebacker, number 15 linebacker in the portal. He's committed to the Trojans. 62 tackles for the Dogs, 2 tackles for loss. PFF grade stuff. Really great with the run, not so great with the pass. Situationally, fantastic.
Yes, 100%. And I think that's the tricky thing is that, again, I don't know that you can have Devin Bryant on the field for all 3 downs.
Sure.
But USC couldn't have any of their linebackers on the field for any down and trust that they were going to be able to stop the run. So I will take that. I will take that particular sort of trade-off, considering that, and I was just grabbing this to look this up, his run defending PFF grade, run defense was 72.8, and his tackling grade was 73.1, which, by the way, is just better than a lot of guys at USC. But I'm looking at the linebackers. Eric Gentry had a 67.5 run defending grade. So that was USC's best run defending linebacker, and he's well below what Bryant was. To really compare it, you can look at. Oh, I'm scrolling a long way, guys. I am scrolling a long way. Jaden Walker, 48.3. Desmond Stevens, 53.3. So obviously USC needs those guys to improve with the quickness, but and Tamir Robinson 56.7. So it's not like USC had guys behind them that were more capable of doing run defending. Devin Bryant is an instant fix for that particular massive problem at USC, and you can deal with your third down pass defense in some other way. But
again, if you address first and second down, you make third down easier. So, is he a guy that's going to plug in and win the butt kiss? No. But is he fixing or help you potentially fix an issue? Yes. And I think that is a good thing here. Let's go to corner Carrington Pierce. Obviously, Christian Pierce's brother comes in from Oklahoma State. He was a JUCO transfer, got to Oklahoma State last year, did not play, immediately went into the transfer portal in October. He's Christian Pierce's brother. That's all I got.
It's all I got too. It's all I got. Yeah. Apparently he did pretty good in JUCO.
Sure.
But who knows how that will translate. I view him a little bit like the Kevin Longstreet thing, where like if he contributes, then that's great.
Bonus guy.
But like, do I expect to see a lot of him? Mm-hmm. No, not really. You know,
if you're relying on him to make a difference, then you're probably not in a place that you're going to want to be in.
Just like USC was not in a place they wanted to be in when Kevin Longstreet got a lot of playing time. You know, it's just, it is what it is.
Yeah. Lachlan Kerrigan, punter from Memphis, 43.5 yards per punt. His average 5 punts of 50 plus, 19 inside the 20, 21 of 38 punts fair caught. The numbers aren't extraordinary by any means. They're fine. He punts. He's not terrible. He's got a leg. Sure.
Yeah, I don't really have he's a punter.
Fun name, Lachlan Kerrigan.
I just hope that he is good.
Lachlan Kerrigan. What do you hear that name and what do you think?
I think of a BBC crime drama set in like Scotland or something.
In Scotland.
Yeah.
Lachlan Kerrigan. Yeah. Was that good?
Yes.
I think that was pretty good, right? Last one, and this is the one that I think we really need to dive into. SC gets Dylan Black out of Oregon State, which leads to one question, Alicia. When is SC going to get a guy named something Cardinal? Dylan Black went and wore black at Oregon State. I think SC should get a Cardinal guy. He's the long snapper. If we never have to say Dylan Black's name on the podcast ever again,
then that's great.
Then he will have been fantastic.
Yes. Yeah. I want to never have to talk about Dylan Black again.
Yeah.
I am glad that USC has gone out and found themselves a long snapper. Yeah. And good luck to him. And hopefully he enjoys his time at USC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I cannot evaluate long snappers better than, snap looks good.
If he's
Snap's not bad.
If he's a snapper worth bringing in as a transfer, then I feel like that's probably something that's a good sign, you know?
Yeah. I do think that, like, is there a position, I mean, outside, I guess, of a pilot, is there a position in which you can never mess up in your career, and if you do have one mess up, then your entire career is just tainted? Because if you, as a long snapper, like if you want to be in the NFL, you literally have to go perfect.
Yes.
Your entire career.
Yes.
To sniff an opportunity.
Yep.
Like literally perfect. You cannot have any mistake.
Well, I immediately went to like the deep sea welders or whatever, but also their career ends if they make a mistake because their life ends.
Well, yes. So, yeah. I mean, the same with the pilot. If the pilot, like, one mistake and, all souls on board, knock on wood, no. All right, let's get to the mailbag. We'll wrap this thing up.
You've got mail.
All right, we got a comment last week. First of all, we just found out that you can comment on Spotify.
Yeah, today we learned.
I am so sorry to all the people who've been commenting on Spotify, and we have not responded to their comments.
I legitimately had no idea. I listened to some. I don't do all my podcasts listening on Spotify, but do some of it. I didn't know I, as a listener, could comment.
Yeah, no idea. But apparently it's a thing. So I went back and we've gotten like one or two comments on like every single pod. Just about every single episode this past season. A few about Badger, but like,
we didn't even put him away today, and
we didn't.
I just realized that he's
gotten better.
He's nice and asleep under.
When was the last time he obstructed an episode?
It's been a while because what he was going through was a puppy phase, and I knew that he would eventually grow out of it. Knock on wood.
Puppies are long snappers, though. One mistake,
and they're infamous forever.
Yeah. All right. YouTube comment from B Figs. Am I mistaken, or was last year on defense the first time that we had a big transfer portal full of whiffs? Because I feel in previous years, specifically Riley's first year, we really hit in the portal. Last year we had some big hits and big misses, but those guys were highly rated by everyone, like Silver and Harvey. Alicia, what's your take on this? Because I've got a take on the current commitments. Go for it.
Well, I want to say that the 2023 transfer class there were a lot of whiffs there. The whiffs at receiver with Dorian Singer. There had to have been whiffs on defense as things just got bad.
Well, I think you can make an argument that Anthony Lucas was a whiff. I think you can make an argument that Mason Cobb was a whiff. I think those might be a little harsh.
Yes,
but
they certainly weren't impact players the way that
they
USC
weren't impact players the way SC expected them to be.
Yes,
they played vital roles, but like they weren't as impactful as we were hoping.
Okay, so the 2023 class had Traquan Fagans, a non-factor, Bear Alexander, drama, Emmanuel Pregnon, very good until he left.
So I think B-Fix is specifically talking defense here.
Okay, Anthony Lucas, Christian Roland Wallace was in 2023, and he was good. Yeah. Mason Cobb, Jamil Muhammad.
Oh, who's that defense?
Keon Bars. Yeah.
Keon Bars.
Big whiff. Yeah. So I guess what I mean by this is that I think USC has had whiffs more or less every season at some point. Like I think the issue here is that the whiffs that USC had this year were certainly more impactful than they had been like the year before, for instance, because at least John Humphrey and DeCarlos Nicholson were functional corners. Kamari Ramsey was a resounding success. Easton Mascarenas Arnold and his brother Keely Arnold were functioning players on defense.
Starters, yeah.
Nate Clifton and Gavin Meyer were functional defensive linemen. So like I think what it was is more that USC in 2024 actually didn't have very many whiffs at all. In the portal, they didn't have any like resounding successes beyond Kamara Ramsey, but everybody they brought in on defense, at least Greedy Vance, they all more or less played and contributed.
There were a lot of starts.
Where the 2025 issue is that Chasen Johnson got injured and didn't play. Tamir Robinson didn't play, and when he did, it wasn't good enough for us to say he should be starting. Yeah. Kennedy Urlacher did play a lot, but he's still a young player who was clearly thrown in there and out of his depth at times. Bishop Fitzgerald, All-American, resounding win, but Jaw Jarrett was injured most of the season. Kevin Longstreet was playing when he really shouldn't have been. DJ Harvey was a disaster. Keyshawn Silver was meh. Like, Keyshawn Silver was not better than Gavin Meyer or Nate Clifton. That is a problem, So, yes, I think this past season, USC brought in several transfers that they really needed to hit because they were replacing guys from the year before, and they didn't hit. So it was quite impactful, especially once the injury bug came around.
Yeah, I will say that, like, last year's transfer portal class was exciting.
Yeah.
Because there were so many big names on defensive line. Silver and Jarrett and like Harvey was someone that we expected to be. We talked about him like we're probably talking about Jontez Williams, right? I don't think there's a lot of difference in how we talked about him. And so those guys not panning out, at least in terms of being productive last season. Judge Jarrett still has meat on the bone. He's still got, time to go with eligibility and everything to still.
And we had a great cameo in the bowl game. So
and the Purdue game, the thick six, yeah. But I think that like looking at this current transfer portal incoming class, am I crazy to say that this is the least exciting transfer portal class since the existence of the transfer portal?
You're not crazy.
Because I'm excited to see what Alex Van Sumeren can do.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what Jontez Williams can do. None of these guys are selling tickets. You know what I mean?
Right, but I think that's by design.
That's fine.
We knew that USC was focusing on high school recruiting.
Yes.
We knew that they were going to go lighter in the portal.
Yes.
In an ideal world, they would have had a Jontez Williams level signing at every level of the defense. So defensive line, linebacker. But they haven't done that, and so it's been just a little bit meh. But on the other hand, what that kind of sets up is expectations just simply being lower for a lot of these guys. Like if
which
Devin,
might end up better in terms of perception.
Yes, if Devin Bryant ends up being a locked-in starter and upgrade at linebacker, then that's like I don't think I'm looking at him as a definite he's going to start the entire season next to Desmond Stevens.
If you get the production out of 2026 Devin Bryant that you got out of 2024 Mason Cobb,
I mean,
feel
or
really
Easton
good about
Easton
him.
Mascarenas Arnold, I'd take that level.
Because 2023 Mason Cobb had a lot of hype and didn't live up to that hype. 2024 Mason Cobb was totally fine, but like he had already sort of shot his wad on the hype kind of thing in terms of how SC fans were expecting him to be, which I think can be unfair. But like when you come in with hype, like people want to be excited and people will be disappointed at things, and there will be expectations. Like this is some of the things that like as a fan you have to sort of wrestle with. and just sort of have understanding that like some guys are just not going to be as great as you think you are, and some guys are going to be way better than you think they will be, and whatnot. And you hope it balances out in the end.
The other thing, though, is that like last year, USC was replacing a lot of starters on defense.
Yeah.
This year, I mean, they're replacing guys, but it feels less like they're filling holes and more just like they're slotting the guy who we obviously knew was going to be moving up into that role and was already a contributing player on the field. So, like, you lose Anthony Lucas, but Braylon Shelby was there and was always there and is just basically just now more of a starter than he already was.
Yeah.
You lose Devin Tompkins, you plug in Van Sumeren, you're good, but you also don't want to bar Floyd Boucard's path into that defensive tackle spot.
100%.
You don't want to bar the potential of you certainly can't bar Jakeem Stewart from playing time, and you don't want to bar somebody like Luke Wafel from potentially being a standout freshman on the edge there. Yeah. The cornerback situation, you're replacing DeCarlos Nicholson, but you bring back Marcellus Williams. You have brought in your DeCarlos Nicholson replacement and potentially upgrade. And then you have a bunch of guys who are at the stage in their career that you want to start seeing them compete for starting jobs. Like, I want to see what Marcellus Williams and Isaiah Rubin and...
but I guess my concern is, like, you're replacing Kamara Ramsey, who...
Well, that's a problem.
Maybe should have been an All-American in 2024, and Bishop Fitzgerald, who was an All-American in 2025 at safety. Those are the two safeties that you're replacing.
Okay, see, and this is my point of concern is, number one, I personally think USC should not be going into the season thinking they only have one linebacker to replace. Because for me, you cannot continue to play Desmond Stevens playing the way that he was this past season. Mm-hmm. If he improves going into next season, great, but you cannot have that being plan A and only bringing in one linebacker to sit next to him and delay Jaden Walker because, he's clearly not ready. And it's the same thing at safety. It's like, okay, they're not bringing in a safety, clearly. So what does that tell us? Number one, they have a lot of faith in Christian Pierce, I think. Number two, they are happy with the Alex Graham, Kendarius Reddick sort of potential thing there.
Yeah.
And feel like they're going to plug in those guys and be fine, which may be the case, but it's certainly a risk at some key positions.
Yeah, Joe in the chat says that Chad Bowden hates the transfer portal. He'd rather build through high school recruiting than the transfer portal. Yeah, absolutely. And this might be one of those things.
And that's all well and good for Chad Bowden because Chad Bowden is not on a ticking clock. Sorry for interrupting you.
No, I think that when people are wanting immediate results and saying that, like, this is Lincoln Riley's final year, like put up or shut up kind of thing, then...
That's not how Bowden is building this roster.
You know what's fascinating is you talking about the GM job, like the expectations for, like, Bowden is not necessarily in a win now or get fired position, but like it's so interesting because it's the opposite of what you see in the pros, where GMs are so hyper focused on not necessarily win now, but like win enough to keep my job.
Yeah.
You see this in the NHL all the time, that like people will overpay somebody and like have a deferred contract because like this guy might improve your team for the next 6 months, but like he's going to suck in 3 years, but hey, it allowed you to keep your job another 6 months and like that kind of thing. Because the long play is to recruit fantastically and add when needed in the transfer portal.
Well, if I'm
Chad, but you just have to get to that point and also be able to develop the guys to be able to pay that off too.
If this was year one of Chad Bowden and year one of a new head coach, well, technically year two, but like recruiting class one of Chad Bowden and first year of a new head coach, we would be looking at this season as a throwaway season. 2026 would be all about building. Results would not really matter. It's all about, play the freshmen, play the young guys, because you want to get them ready for 2027, 2028. The problem is the timelines are all mixed up, and we've already been sitting here for 4 years, and Bowdoin is on the year 1 timeline, and Lincoln Riley is on the year 5 timeline, and those don't really fit. So I guess what I'm looking at is, as fans, do we look at it and decide whose timeline we want to be on? Because if I go in wanting to be on Lincoln Riley's timeline, then he needs to make the playoff. If I go in wanting to be on Chad Bowden's timeline, then I want to see as many of those freshmen play as possible and let the record be what it'll be as a result.
A, porque no los dos.
I mean, yes, but
B, given that the transfer portal exists, it makes turning around a god-awful Indiana program potentially turn into a national championship winner.
Well, that's what USC did in year 1.
No, but but what I'm saying here is, like, you can turn around things very quickly in and out. And so, like, I hear what you're saying, but the key is you have to do both of those things. Because if you had a year in which, yes, you didn't care, it was about developing Jakeem Stewart and developing Boobie Feaster and developing Caden Dixon-Wyatt and all these guys, Luke Waffle and Mark Bowman, and it's all about developing those guys, and you end up having a 7-5 season. But you see some encouraging signs from the players, from the young guys, and all that kind of stuff. That might help your program 3 years from now. But the problem is the world doesn't exist that way anymore. Because if you went 7-5, our guy's going to want to stay around. If you go 7-5, maybe you don't have Lincoln Riley anymore. And if Lincoln Riley leaves and your coaching staff leaves, then you're losing coaches, which forces guys to go into the portal, and maybe they're going to want to follow the coach. And then, like, all the guys that you were trying to nurse up and develop won't be here anymore. And so you do have to win now and develop your guys for the future and expect that you're going to lose dudes along the way and expect that you're going to have to plug in dudes along. You need to do all these different things at once.
Michael,
that's what college football is now.
No, Michael, the issue is it's very evident to me, and it should be evident to everyone else, that Lincoln Riley is not being fired after 2026.
I'm just saying.
If you're Riley, you need to put up results.
Yes. Yeah.
And he should be able to put up results even with the youth of this roster and all of that. Like, I think that with a good defensive coordinator, his offense is good enough to create a team that wins 9 or 10 games.
Yeah.
And if they're doing that, then you're sort of right on schedule. But even if it's 8-4, even if it's 7-5, I'm just telling you guys right now, like, he is not getting fired because that number 1 recruiting class, because it's been very clear that they're setting up for 2027 and 2028. Like, and maybe they will decide that they want a new coach to take over for 2028, and you deal with that. But I'm quite confident that 2027 Lincoln Riley will still be the head coach.
We will see. We will see how everything goes. A lot of stuff to get to in the off season. Let's wrap it up there. Quick thoughts. We'll be back next Monday before the national championship game. So
can I say 2 things?
Yeah, quick though.
Notre Dame is doing that, like, their Hard Knocks kind of in season documentary thing, and they put out the episode about skipping the Pop-Tarts Bowl. And God, what an embarrassing thing to put out into the world. That's
one of those things where, like, I feel like you think that it's like, me saying this today is weird because I posted something on Instagram, but, like, it's like when you write up something long. You go on Reddit and you post some long Reddit post.
Yeah.
You pour your heart into it and you think everyone's going to... It's an Am I the Asshole post. And, like, you're so, like, I am going to prove, right, that I am not the asshole here. I've done all my stuff here. I've barfed all over the keyboard, but like I've put everything in there and it's really long and all this stuff. And then everyone reads it and is like, yeah, but actually this is kind of embarrassing.
Yeah.
That's
what my reaction to that clip was.
You aren't the white knight you thought you were kind of deal.
No,
yeah.
Marcus Freeman praising his players for not wanting to play a football game is, it's not it, bud. It's not it.
Yeah.
So that was one thing. And two, I am a petty sports fan who eats Schadenfreude as much as I can.
Mm-hmm.
So watching Oregon not only lose to Indiana, but get blasted by Indiana was one of the more gratifying non-my team sports moments I've had in a while. And we are now guaranteed a national champion that will not be painful to me, which is very exciting on my part.
I hear you. At the same time, I think SC in a lot of ways should aspire to take themselves like Oregon sees themselves, in the sense that they are willing to spend the money.
Yes.
That they're willing to do anything possible and all that stuff.
Yes.
And so seeing that doing that still doesn't, and having a coach that everyone thinks is a good coach still gets you in a position to get your ass beat in the playoff is like sort of mind-boggling. Because what we're seeing, like,
everyone who ran into the Indiana bus.
Oh, 100%. But it happened to Oregon last year too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's not like this is the only time that Oregon got their butts
The
spinning.
current track record of the Oregon head coach is a very James Franklin-y, if you ask me. But
it's almost as if it's hard to get over the hump there.
Just maybe.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna wrap up there. We'll be back next week to I don't know that we'll preview Indiana beating Miami by 34 probably, but we'll be back next week to talk more USC.
Maybe this time next week we'll have a defensive coordinator to talk about.
Hey,
you never know.
Knowing how podcasting works, it happened 43 minutes ago.
Or it will happen 43 minutes after our episode next Monday.
Sure. Yeah. All right. Until next week, we will see ya.
See ya.
See ya.